Decision fatigue. Most people think it means having too many choices, but when it really takes hold, it doesn't feel like choice at all. It feels like weight, like even simple decisions are asking for more than you have left. There was a woman who didn't recognize it at first. She just thought she was tired, but she wasn't just tired. She was running out of something far less visible. Her days looked normal. Work, messages, tasks. Tiny decisions that didn't seem important. What to wear, what to eat, what to answer, what to do first, what could wait. Nothing overwhelming on its own, but there were always more. And by the time the day ended, she felt something she couldn't explain. Not just mental fatigue, not just stress. Something heavier. At first, she tried to push through it, make faster decisions, be more efficient, stop hesitating. But something strange started happening. The more she tried to decide quickly, the harder it became to decide anything at all. Simple things started feeling heavier. Choosing dinner, replying to a message, picking a time, making a plan. Even small decisions began to feel expensive, and the more she forced them, the less clear her mind became. That's when it changed. It wasn't just that decisions were harder, it was that they started following her everywhere. By the afternoon, her patience was thinner. By the evening, even harmless choices felt irritating. And by night, the idea of deciding one more thing felt impossible. This was more than stress. More than just being overwhelmed. It was decision-making fatigue. And once it started building, it didn't reset as easily as she thought it would. At some point, she started to believe something about herself. That she was indecisive, that she lacked discipline, that she just needed to try harder. But that explanation never felt complete, because she remembered a time when choices didn't feel this heavy, when her mind had space, when simple decisions stayed simple. So what had changed? That was when she came across a phrase. What is decision fatigue? And the more she looked into it, the more she felt unsettled. Because the description was familiar, too familiar. The constant choices, the mental drain, the shrinking patience, the strange exhaustion that came from thinking all day long. But even then, something about it still felt deeper than the definition. When she looked closer, she noticed something. It wasn't just big decisions draining her. It was all of them. The constant switching, the constant evaluating, the constant micro-choices. Her mind never really got to rest. It just moved from one decision to the next, all day, every day, until eventually, it stopped wanting to choose at all. And that was the part no one warned her about. Not confusion, avoidance. Because decision fatigue isn't really about choice. It's about energy. And every decision you make takes a little of it. Not enough to notice at first, but enough to slowly wear down your clarity. Until one day, you are not putting things off because you're lazy. You are putting them off because you're depleted. And when you are depleted, even obvious decisions stop feeling obvious. That's when she saw the real problem. It wasn't only what she was deciding. It was how much of her life had become constant decision-making. Work, texts, notifications, schedules, meals, plans, requests, expectations. Everything wanted something from her attention. Everything wanted an answer. There was no space. And without space, her mind never recovered enough to feel clear again. The realization that stopped her wasn't complicated. It was this: she didn't have a decision problem. She had an energy problem, and she had been trying to solve it by forcing herself to think harder. That was why nothing changed, because the thing she kept demanding from herself was the exact thing she had already run out of. So instead of asking, "Why can't I just decide?" she started asking something more honest. Why am I so mentally exhausted before the decision even arrives? And that question changed everything, because it moved the problem out of shame and into understanding. She began making smaller changes, not dramatic ones, just enough to notice. Fewer unnecessary choices, less input, more repetition where it helped, more pause between decisions. In some ways, it looked like simplicity, almost like a form of decision fatigue minimalism. Not because minimalism was the goal, but because fewer pointless choices meant more energy for the ones that mattered. And slowly, she began to understand how to overcome decision fatigue, not by becoming more disciplined, but by protecting her attention before it was gone. Most people think clarity comes from thinking more, but often it comes from needing to think less. Because when your mind is constantly deciding, it doesn't have the energy to see clearly. So the question is not, "Why can't I decide?" It's, "How much of my energy is being spent before I even get to the decision?" Because once you see that, you stop blaming yourself for being overwhelmed, and you start protecting the part of you that every decision keeps drawing from. That is where clarity begins.